Hi there, knife enthusiasts. Well, if you're not a knife enthusiast yet, I hope you become one because I think knives are very, very cool. It's Thanksgiving weekend in America this weekend, and I'm working on my review of the TS505 from TwoSun Knives, designed by David Chen. This is a big folding pocket knife, liner lock system. We've got some thumb studs, and a flipper that we can use to deploy this blade. And if you're interested in, pocket knives, stick around. This review's for you. Well, here she is. We've got micarta. This is a black micarta. It also comes in an OD green micarta. Those are your only two choices of handle scale material. You can see this big, almost sort of like scallop section, brings it thinner where the hand is, and back spacer back here. And the back spacer feels more like G10. We'll take it apart later on in the video and take a closer look at it. Great big lanyard hole, and it's chamfered on the edges. Nice little touch. Perfect placement for a lanyard hole for those people that want to use a lanyard. So that's really nice. Oh, by the way, there's some jimping on the back spacer. We've got T8 body screws, two of them through here. We've got T8 screws for the pocket clip, and the pocket clip's got a little bit of badging on it. It says David Chen on there, and that's the designer's name. The pocket clip is right side only. There's no option for the pocket clip on the left side, which is unfortunate for lefties, but that's the way it is, right? So I'm not making the news, I'm just reporting it. So there you go. We've got a T8 screw up here on the pivot pin with a little bit of tri decoration, like three little fullers in there. And on this side, it's nice and smooth. And it's not a free spinning pivot pin. And like I said, we'll take it apart and show you exactly that later on. We've got liners in here. There's a little bit of skeletonizing in the liners. And the blade, well, we've got a little bit of jimping up here, a little bit of a thumb riser, then a little bit of jimping, not enough jimping, of course. Yeah, I'll tell you, I'd like it to be longer, but this swedge here, maybe right up to the swedge at least would have been nice. We've got thumb studs that are big. They're actually, I think, a little too big for this knife. Just look at that. They're just big thumb studs. Do I mind? Not really. It's really easy to actuate the knife using those thumb studs on either hand, in part because of the size. So if you don't mind a right hand pocket clip and you're left-handed, the deployment of the knife through the thumb studs is very easy on the left side. So that's a good thing. Of course, you've seen the flipper. The flipper's got three little lines milled in it for the jimping. Works just fine. Even pushing it from the side like that. Decent flipper. A little bit of a chamfer on the edge, rounded over. It's a good flipper, which turns into a decent guard over there. Like I said, the swedge up here. Then we've got a fuller. I like that it's got a fuller. This fuller's too small. It's just too small. I would like a bigger fuller, maybe a smaller swedge and a bigger, deeper fuller in there. Got fairly thick blade stock. Measurements come later. We've got a clip right here, so clip point blade, and it's a fairly straight clip. Let me put the side of my screwdriver on it. Yeah, that's straight. It's not like a Bowie. Well, this is a Bowie style, but a lot of Bowie knives have, sort of a radius in there, and this is just, a straight clip. Nice. Decent thickness coming close to the tip, but then the edge is nice and thin. We've got a flat grind. Badging on this side, T505 N690 right there. I like N690, especially for this knife. It's not a super steel. It's not a low budget steel, but it's sort of riding that line between mid-grade-ish kind of steel, at least in this day and age in 2023. N690 is probably a mid-grade kind of steel. And on this side it says TwoSun, not too big again, which is nice. TwoSun, when they first started, was making their logos a little bit too big. There's not many other flat spots they could have put it. I don't like it on the main bevel, but that's okay right there. Then we've got a great big sharpener's choil, like the plunge here from the full thickness down to, the thinness of the main bevel. It's a very gradual plunge, so they need to have a big sharpener's choil. But it's not a big enough choil to really safely use as a finger choil. I wish they would have made the step more abrupt and then given us more cutting edge, or made the sharpener's choil into a finger choil. Slash sharpener's choil, where you can easily fit your index finger in there, and then you'd be able to hold the knife like this when you want to, and of course hold the knife back here when you want to. This is a big knife. This is not a little knife. It's on the big end, past the middle size of a folding knife. Like I said, how many times am I going to say it's a big knife? It's a big knife. Anyhow, that's sort of the general overview of that part. The pivot here, well, it's a standard pivot. We've got ball bearings in there, and I'll show you those a little bit later on. Lockup is a liner lock, and that close-up should show you how nicely that is. It's fully engaged, but there's lots of room for it to wear over time. We've got nice access to it. There's a nice swedge right there to get in there. There's a tiny bit of lock stick on it, and it's been getting better. I've done nothing to it yet, but that lock stick has been getting a little bit better. It's not bad lock stick. It's easy to get undone, but there's just a little bit of that in there. Alignment, it's just slightly off to the pocket clip side. See that? It's not quite right down the middle, but it's not rubbing anywhere. So that's a pass for me. And when it's deployed, no blade play up and down unless this screw comes loose. And that's a typical thing for TwoSun knives. Their pivot screws come loose. There's no Loctite thread locker in there of any kind, so that screw can come loose from the vibration of using it. So, there's that. The balance point on this knife, let's do it right here. There we go. That's the balance point right there. I wish the balance point was a little bit more over here. I wish they would have done a little more skeletonizing in the liners and stuff. Yeah. How does it feel in hand? Well, if I do a tight grip, like I'm going to be doing some harder work for a while, I'm not that happy with this belly side. We've got a decent, spot for your index finger, and then it comes back, and then it sort of steps down a little bit wider. I like that they're doing that, except for the edge here is a little too crisp. On the spine, they did a little bit of a cove, or is that just a chamfer? That's actually just a chamfer. They did just a little chamfer on here. I wish that chamfer there was a little bit bigger, and that they would have done the chamfer here as well. Now it's micarta. I can do that at home. You can do that at home with micarta as well, just with a little bit of sandpaper. There's a tiny bit of a chamfer on this big section right here, but here there's not really a chamfer, and here there's not a chamfer. And here there is a little bit of one, and it's actually a cove that they've milled in there. But it's not quite comfortable enough here. Thankfully, like I said, it's something that can be fixed at home with a little bit of fine sandpaper. Not a problem. It's just they should have done that at the factory, in my opinion. Before I go over the sizes and stuff, does it cut well? Oh yes, this knife cuts very well. First off, N690. I really like it for this knife. What style of knife is this? I'm calling this a hunter's pocket knife. That's the style I'm sort of generally, or the case use. Somebody might want it for self-defense or something. Hunter's pocket knife, what I'm calling it. N690 is very high in chromium, which gives it really good stainless resistance. It's resistant to rusting quite well, and I really like that. And for a pocket knife, I like it to be stainless, and this is a good stainless. It's not hard to sharpen. A Rockwell on this is usually around 59, give or take a tiny bit, and it can handle that. And this flat grind here and the thickness of the steel up here makes it a very strong blade, but it's very thin at the edge, which helps it to cut through things. And especially if I had a big finger choil there, you can do that. But with this fuller in here, it gives you another grip spot, if you need to be doing some skinning and stuff. I know most hunters usually use fixed blades. You could sharpen this in the field if you needed to. It's not super easy to sharpen, but it's not hard to sharpen either. And I just think it's really good for that. Lockup's solid, and I like it. Let's go over all the dimensions, and then we're going to take it apart. The weight of this knife, 161 grams, 5.68 ounces. Yeah, it's a little bit on the heavy side. Factory sharpness, 130 best. That's sharper than average for the knives that I've reviewed since I started measuring sharpness. I think that's about 500 knives ago that I started measuring the sharpness on knives, so that's good. The cutting edge length, 94.3 millimeters, 3.71 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 99.6 millimeters, 3.92 inches. Yeah, 4-inch knife is what you can call it. The thickness of the blade stock up here where the flat is, well, the flats come all the way up to there. That is 3.72 millimeters, 0.1465. So a decent amount over 1/8 of an inch thick. Blade depth this way, it's widest right here at the pivot end of the blade, 30.2 millimeters, 1.19 inches. How thin is it behind the grind? So this sharpening grind right here, where it turns into the main bevel, how thick is it there? 0.39 millimeters, 15,000ths of an inch. That's not too thin for this steel and for the type of use that I'm suggesting for this knife. The grind angles. Average grind angle along the length. This side, the average is 20 degrees even. This side, the average is 22.6 degrees. And it still ended up being a decent, very good cutter. This guy started here at the factory 23.8 degrees and ended at 21.5 degrees. That's 2.8 degrees of change. Not bad. That's sharpened better than average. This side started at 19.9 degrees, ended at 20.1 degrees. That's 0.2 degrees of change. This side is sharpened very, very well indeed. So your mileage will vary, not marry, it won't get married to anything. Your mileage will vary on how the sharpness is because this is a big factory. They've got a number of guys sharpening and they sharpen by hand. So the angle that you get might not be as good as mine, might be better than mine. I don't know. Let's continue on. Handle length is 128.0 millimeters, 5.04. So 5 and just under 4, good proportions. The grip area, so between my thumbnails here, that's about 10.5 centimeters, a little over 4 inches. So lots of space for big hands. My hands are just barely in the extra large range. So guys with large and extra large hands, or the equivalent in a female, are going to find this knife quite good. If your hands are smaller than that, you might find it a little bit unwieldy for being big, unless you want something really big. You know, it just, you pick what you want and then you go get it, right? Thickness of the handle scales, it gets a little thicker here than it is down here. So it sort of transitions up, but right in the middle, 14.9 millimeters, 0.586 of an inch. Like I said, it's a hefty knife. The handle depth, that's this measurement. The widest point here, it's 27.9 millimeters, 1.1 inches. When the knife is closed, the widest point is with that flipper sticking out. That is 39.3 millimeters, 1.55 inches. And the total length of this knife, 227 millimeters, 8.94 inches. So yeah, a 9-inch knife. It's pretty big. All right, first off, the screws. These are some awesome screws. Like, they're just done very, very well. The T8 heads of my screwdrivers, and by the way, these are really good screwdrivers. I've got links for them down below. They fit very well. There's hardly any play in those screw heads at all. And here's my pivot screw. Like I said, see, there's no, looks like there's a little bit of grease in there. That would help it come loose. Clean that out, but very nice, tight, snug fit like that. There's the stop pin right there. There's the D-shaped pivot pin and the not spinning pin. We've got the ceramic ball bearings right here. Now, I'd like more ball bearings in there, spaced a little closer, but that's okay. What do we got? We got 8 ball bearings in there. Yeah, it could use more, but they're not bad in that nylon cage. The back spacer, I really think this is G10. I'm not 100% sure, but pretty close that this is G10 back here. And see, there's the skeletonizing. Now, I really wish they would have done maybe one big hole right there and maybe this hole a little bit bigger back here. It would help the balance point a little bit. And if they also would have put this fuller, deeper in, maybe a slightly smaller swedge and a nice deeper fuller in there, it would help with the weight and the balance. Both of those things could be a little bit improved. And there's no steps on the side of these, so you really do need the spacer. Can't just do without the spacer back here. Let me put it back in place. There you go. And yeah, that's how it's constructed. I didn't show the pocket clip in use before. There you go. There you go. And take that out. Nice. I like that. That's pretty nice. How much is this knife? It's $49.99 at White Mountain Knives, where you can save 10% with coupon code CCE. That makes it $44.99, $45 US for this knife. Canadians, I don't suggest that you import this knife into Canada since it's got a flipper and it's a locking knife. If CBSA inspects it at the border, there's a very good chance they're going to confiscate it. Amazon.com has this, 75 US dollars for this, American. So White Mountain Knives is a much better place to get it. It's 30 US dollars cheaper than it is at Amazon.com, at least when I checked. I'll leave a link for Amazon anyways in case you want to get it from there. But both colors are in stock when I record this at White Mountain Knives. If you're international somewhere outside of North America and you want to get it from AliExpress, they've got it for $72 American. And I'll leave a link for that as well. Quickly, the summary. I love the T8 screws. I highly recommend something like Vibratite VC3. It's a thread mate. It's not a thread locker. It's a little bit different. I got a video on that. Really like that for pivot screws. And that's nice. It's great for somebody who wants an XL, folding knife on a budget price of good quality. It's not perfect, but yeah, it's good. Lockup and action's quite good. Alignment a little bit off, but very nice, solid, smooth. I like the small badging. A little more jimping would be better. Yep. The micarta here could be rounded. That would be better. Yep. A bigger fuller would be better. Yep. Slightly smaller thumb studs would be better. Yep. Maybe a full choil, a finger choil here instead of just this big sharpener's choil. Yeah, that's a design thing I think that they should have changed for sure, because doing that at home is a little bit harder than some of the other little adjustments that you need to do, or could do at home, I should say. Very slight lock stick, but that's, it just keeps getting better. It's very, very slight. Yours might not have that. And that's about it. I like this knife, especially at this price point. It's a really good choice. Yeah, it's got a couple tiny little compromises, but that does not negate how good this knife is, and I'm happy with this purchase. And yes, I purchased this myself, thanks in large part to my supporters. I do have to end up selling most of my knives now. I've not done a knife sale in 2023 at all. I've reviewed about a third, maybe a quarter of the knives that I usually review. Because of my health issues this year, I'm planning on doing a knife sale in January. Yeah, I know, not in time for Christmas. But in January, I'll do a knife sale, and my financial supporters always get 2 full days of access to my knife sale before anybody else does. And when they've had their 2 days of, pillaging the best knives, then the rest of the knives go on sale to the general public who watches my channel, subscribers and friends of the channel. So there you go. So thank you to my supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/CCE, or click the join button down below. And I appreciate your help. Remember, friends, always cut towards your chum.